Hey baseball fans, I'm Matt Gross, aka the Rhode Island Rocky fan, and welcome to another episode of Purple Row Video. In today's installment, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Rockies' 5-4 start, what we can learn from it, and really more specifically what we can't learn from it, because that, to me, is the bigger deal here. Now, I think you can learn some things from individual performances. I know we've seen some good things and some bad things. Drew's got an interesting rock pile today up about Todd Helton and asked some tough questions that I think are going to become an issue as the year goes on. I think that there's also some issues with the bullpen that you could start looking at some individual members there and start asking some questions, although you really can't form any conclusions yet. I also think there's been some encouraging things so far. I think that Willian Rosario continues to show that he has a shot to be a budding superstar in this league. I've seen a lot of encouraging things there so far. Dexter Fowler's start is very interesting. So you can, I think, start looking a little bit at individual performances and start to say, well, let's watch this or that and see how things develop. But as far as looking at the team as a collective group right now, I honestly do not believe we can glean very much from what we've seen so far. And it's specifically because I think 2 of the 3 series they've played so far, the San Diego series and the Giants series, really don't tell us very much. I'm going to break it down like this. Over the course of the season, you play 76 games against your division opponents. That's where a very, very large bulk of your games are going to be determined. Almost half your games are against the same 4 teams. Now, against those 4 teams, we can also break it down into 2 groups of 4 by taking the home games and the road games from them. Because really, Coors Field is such a unique environment. The Rockies play so different home and away. You really have to split these games into groups of 2 against each opponent to get a really good idea. So that kind of leaves you with 8 different groups to look at. You got home against San Diego, road against San Diego, home against San Francisco, road against San Francisco, home LA, road LA, home Arizona, road Arizona, right? Pretty simple to look at. If you break that in 8 groups and you ask yourself which 2 of those groups, as the teams are constructed right now, tell you the least about the team, my answer would actually be home against San Diego and on the road against San Francisco. It may change with San Diego as the year goes on, but right now, I don't think that San Diego, as they're constructed, with Grandal suspended for PED use and Chase Headley out with a thumb injury, I don't think they're in any position at all to come into Coors Field and be competitive. There's simply not enough firepower in their lineup with those 2 missing. And then you add on to the fact that their pitching is just really not that great. It's going to get mauled by the Rockies lineup. And that's pretty much what happened over 3 games. So I don't think you learned very much from that series. And on the flip side of that, you've got the Rockies going to San Francisco, where they pretty much always lose. Jordan's got an article about the Rockies' struggle in California overall, and you'll see in there that they struggle in San Francisco more than they do anywhere else. And if you want even further proof of that, look at 2009. To me, is the absolute best example. From June 3rd to October 2nd of 2009, the Rockies were the best team in baseball. They went 72-36 over that stretch. And yet, even though they were the best team in baseball for 4 solid months, they went into San Francisco twice, played them 6 times, and went 1-5, including a series where they got swept in late August, about a week and a half, right after the Spilly Slam game. A lot of people, I think, kind of remember, hey, you know, Ryan Spilbrooks at a grand slam in the 14th inning. The Rockies got ahead of the Giants and pulled away. That's actually not what happened. The Giants came back and swept the Rockies and pulled into a tie with them by the end of August that year. And then the Rockies, when they got to playing somebody else outside of San Francisco, they won more games in September and pulled away. But the Rockies always lose when they go to San Francisco. Now, that doesn't mean it's any less annoying or any more acceptable. But to me, it doesn't tell me, the fact that they got swept in San Francisco doesn't really tell me very much about this team. The matchups that I look for, that to me are going to tell me more about the Rockies, are when they're playing mediocre to poor teams on the road and mediocre to good teams at home. Very good teams on the road, very bad teams at home, not going to tell you that much. And right now, I would put San Diego with their injuries in that category when they came to visit the Rockies last weekend. And I'd put San Francisco in the very good team category right now, especially with the way the Rockies tend to play them in their ballpark. So, to me, you're just not going to learn very much from those two series. Now, on the flip side, I think we are about to learn a lot more about this team over the next 8 series or so. The Rockies go into San Diego this weekend. That's a very interesting one to me because in the past when the Rockies have been good, they have been able to, at the very least, hold their own in San Diego and actually many times win in San Diego and come out of there with a winning record in the 9 games they play. So that to me is a much better litmus test for this team going forward. And then they've got a long homestand coming up after this. They've got the Mets, Diamondbacks, and Braves. At least 2 of those 3 are interesting opponents because 2 of those 3 teams are good to decent teams coming into Coors Field. And then after that, they go on the road to Arizona and the Dodgers before coming home for the Rays and the Yankees where they start interleague play. So these next 4 weeks to me are going to really give you a much, much better idea of where this team stands than what we've seen so far. All right, that's all for today's episode. Keep checking back at Purple Row. Obviously, whatever happens, we're going to cover it. So see you around.